Hello and welcome to the episode 24 of the Bunker to Bunker podcast. I am your host, Josh, doing this solo, which is still a little weird to me, honestly, but we keep going along. Ethan is unavailable to make it today, so still got to put out an episode after a pretty eventful week of golf. So, the way that I think we're going to structure these podcasts is to do some news first, then do a little quick recap of the weekend, and then get into the upcoming tournament with some spotlights, sleepers, players to watch. So that's kind of, I think, the structure of the podcast going forward, which I think is makes the most sense logically. So let's get into some news. I think what stole the headline this week was Rory going on the Stick It to Football podcast, which is a podcast run by Sky Sports, and he was on there for an hour talking about his own career, what happened with LIV, the PGA Tour, soccer, kind of him growing up as a kid. They did a little game that he chipped a golf ball into a dryer, which he did as a kid, and onto one of the talk shows when he was 9 or 10 years old. So I'll kind of structure this point into kind of two sections, which I thought were really intriguing about Rory. I think Rory is probably one of the best communicators I think we have in golf. I think whenever he opens his mouth, you kind of hear what he has to say at a high, intelligent level. So, one of the points he said that he said that he basically was surprised that the tour has been this successful with getting sponsor money, because players didn't commit to playing in so tournaments now. Now we have these signature events that players commit to. All the top players are, all right, we're going to play in the Sony, Sentry, Pebble this year, the Genesis, Wells Fargo, which isn't that name anymore, but he said that it's pretty amazing how they've gone this far, gotten all the money that they can without the commitment of the top players at all these tournaments, because I don't think a lot of the casual fans, which is completely fine, don't know that the PGA Tour, they don't own any of the majors. The Masters is owned by Augusta National, US Open, USGA. The PGA Championship is the PGA of America, which is not the PGA Tour. And then the British Open, the Open Championship, is run by the R&A. So that's where they made this Players Tournament, which is kind of their own major that they can make their own money off of. So I think it's a really good point, and I think it's something that I didn't think Rory would ever say, but he kind of opens up and is it actually is amazing how far the tour has come, that there hasn't been a competitor like a LIV with all this money backing it up. So now going to about LIV with Rory, he basically summed up that he was too judgmental at first about LIV and the product, the players that went, and he now has had to accept that it's kind of here to stay. And he also said that, it's unsustainable to go against the PIF and the money that they have to invest in LIV and invest in golf. And he also went on to say that he met with Yasser a couple months before the framework agreement happened in June, that he kind of knew there were talks, didn't think that it would mean too much last year, and then poof, in June, 2 months later, they get a deal done. So, I guess it's bigger Rory, I guess, however you kind of want to frame it. I think that, he had to come out and say it. Everyone kind of sounds like a hypocrite. People that went to LIV or hate on LIV, but he's right. There's really no one out there, or less than 1% of the population, even less than that, can compete with the Saudi investment funds. So, but the one thing that was really intriguing to me, that I took the most out of it, is what Rory said, that he thinks that Live should be like a 2-month thing that they play the team golf with match play, because he thinks that golf needs more match play, especially since now we don't have the Dell Technologies match play tournament, and the Ryder Cup is every 2 years, and we do the President's Cup, but it's just not the same. Which I do agree. I think golf needs more match play. I think it would be good for, take a month in the fall, or like in January or in February, just do team golf. I think that would be cool, and I really think that that's what the Tour and Live are trying to talk about, because I do think Yasser and, Greg Norman, Phil, Bryson, all of them at Live truly believe in team golf, and I think there's a way that you can mix in both, to have a franchise for kids to, wear a Fireballs hat or a Crushers hat. As funny as that really sounds for me saying that, I think that it could happen, but you just have to, play the right courses, have the players buy into it, and not overdo it, is what I really truly believe that can be in golf. So that was kind of the first news point. The second big headline in the news was Patrick Reed, who somehow he just loves the spotlight, loves the headline. Him and his wife they just love it. I guess Reed has been known for his defamation case against Brandon Chambly, other news outlets, and I guess players too. And a judge in Florida ruled that Reed will have to pay for the defamation case. Specifically what going after Chambly. Reed has also been in the news for fighting with Rory, having a lawyer drop some documents off last Christmas. So Reed having to now pay back these news outlets and figures is kind of what comes around goes around, I guess. So hopefully I'm kind of just tired of this. Just, push it to the side and let's just move on with everything. But we had a pretty eventful weekend at the Sentry. It was a huge birdie fest at Kapalua, which is really no surprise. I'm trying to pull up the stats right now, but yeah, we had Chris Kirk, who got his 6th victory on the PGA Tour, won at 27 under, which is insane. Actually, it may have been more. I think I got that wrong. Okay, so let me go back. So we had the Sentry tournament, and Chris Kirk won at 29 under. He fended off some of the greats at a signature event with Sahith Theegala at 28 under, and then Spieth at 27 under, Morikawa at 25, and then you had your Cantlay, Xanders, and Schefflers with Patrick Hatton all in that mix too, and in the top 10 or top 20. So it was a very impressive win for Chris Kirk. He won the Honda Classic last year, so this is his first signature event playing with the big boys, I guess, if you want to call it that way. He gained 10.5 strokes on the field and gained in all categories of his game. Didn't lose a stroke in any category, and his kind of persona, his body language, he was just stone cold the entire day. Not much emotion, not much smiling, not very emotional. He really looked like he was all business, so I thought that was really cool to kind of see that you had all these top names, but couldn't get it done. I think another headline of the Century was Scottie Scheffler. We had, not the rumors, but reports, he's been grinding on his putter, switching putters, different coach, and we saw a little bit of improvement at the Hero, but you just look on TV and he's still missing those putts inside 10 feet. I think Kirk missed 1 or 2 inside 10 feet. Scheffler missed a bunch. He gained strokes putting, I think around 2.5, on Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday he lost 2. So the putter woes are still there for Scheffler. We also saw Spieth miss a ton of putts too, inside 10 feet. Notably, the one that Kisner kind of was like to Jordan, like, dude, just put it in. Don't overthink it. Just put it in. And then he missed that putt. So I thought, Spieth lost by 2. He parred that par 5 on Saturday when Kisner was talking about it. He parred, I think, number 5 again on Sunday. So that, there's just those 2 shots that make a difference in these like birdie fest holes. I thought Sahith really played well. He is, to kind of preview what I'm going to be posting on Twitter on Mondays. It's going to be kind of a stock report. So I'm going to give like my 3 players that stock is up and stock is down. And one of the stock reports I wrote was on Sahith. He finished second at the Sentry, gaining 9.5 strokes to the field. He's gained strokes off the tee in his last 7 measured events, which I think that he's known for spraying it off the tee. So him gaining strokes in 7 events, including the Sentry, is huge. He also won the Fortinet Championship during the fall swing, and I think that, he's famously known for last year, or 2 years ago, at the Phoenix Open, contending and then losing to Scheffler, kind of blew it. He also blew it to Xander at the Travelers 2 years ago, too. He was in the Netflix documentary as one of the stars of it. Great collegiate golfer at Pepperdine. So, I think Sahith has showed the first tournament off the bat that he's here to play. He's one of the top guns, I think. I think it's only in due time that he wins one of these signature events. He played well at the Masters last year. He could be a decent sleeper there. So he's like kind of my stock up. I kind of want to talk about Akshay Bhatia too. He kind of faded in round 4 at the Century too. He finished T14, but I believe he was 1 off going into round 4. He gained over 4.5 strokes putting, which is his second best performance of his career. He's a great ball striker. That is his elite part of his game, is his irons. So him gaining 4 strokes putting, he usually is like a Scotty, where he gains a ton of strokes from off the tee, from approach, but his putting is really what lets him down. But it was kind of the opposite this tournament. He lost 2.2 strokes from approach, so I'm not that concerned right now. If he shows a trend of him losing strokes from approach, then I might get a little concerned. But those are kind of 2 stock up that I'll preview. There's another one that I'll let Twitter decide that one. But I also want to, I guess this is also in the news in the Century that I think it's cool to talk about, is Kevin Kisner. He got some airtime this week at the Century with Dan Hicks at NBC in the booth. I think a lot of people on Twitter were kind of hyping him up, and I think that it's good for golf to have his personality, his charisma, his kind of brain on golf will be really important, I think, just to say those, funny comments, funny jabs, keeping it real. I think that we're in like the new school of announcing that, it has to be fun. I think we need to make golf more fun, the broadcast more fun, and I think having a Kisner will be good for the broadcast and to replace Paul Azinger. So I think he's doing the Phoenix Open next. So I think it's a little bit of a part-time. He's still playing some tournaments. So I think the more Kisner we put out there, the better for the fans. So, but let's get into a little course preview. I know I'm going a little fast on this Monday morning, but some people have places to be. So the Sony Open is traditionally held at Waialae Country Club in Hawaii, 7,000 yards, par 70. Kind of the profile you want as a golfer is you need to be elite at your short irons and your mid irons. And this is somewhat of a birdie fest, not as much as Kapalua, but you need to make your putts inside 10, 15 feet to contend. They do grow out the rough here a decent amount. There isn't really a strong correlation between being the best player off the tee. So if you think you have an advantage off the tee, there's not much really here at Waialae. So that's really a little bit quick course preview. Some of the recent winners since 2020, we had Cam Smith, minus 11 in 2020. 2021, Kevin Na finished at minus 21. Hideki, minus 23. And then Siwoo last year, minus 18. So I guess depending on like the weather, rain, wind, and stuff, that, traditionally it's going to be in the 20s. I know Justin Thomas won, I think, like minus 27 under too. Jimmy Walker has won this tournament a bunch too. So I think this tournament is traditionally a birdie fest with, high greens in regulation, put it within, 15 feet, and you got to make those putts. So I'll do a player spotlight here. And this guy's actually on my stock down, but I think Hideki Matsuyama is the most intriguing player in this tournament. He is a course fit here. He's one of the most elite with his mid irons and wedges. He's won here before. It's probably one of his favorite courses. He's a great course fit. He's probably will be the most popular one and done pick this week and maybe in DFS, but his stock's down right now. I mean, we haven't seen the old Hideki in a while. He hasn't finished top 10 in a tournament since the 2023 Players in March. At the Sentry, he lost 3.5 strokes ball striking and 9 strokes putting. But if there's anywhere for Hideki to bounce back, it's here. It's at Waialae in Hawaii at the Sony Open where he's won before. So it'll be intriguing of what his betting number gets to. As I said before, I think he's gonna be fairly popular with the course history. And I was listening to Andy Lack last night before bed, and he said that outside of Augusta, this course is really known for players who play well here. Traditionally, always play well here. That's kind of a theme for this course, and I'm gonna pull up and Rick Run Good kind of some of the guys who played well here traditionally, gaining strokes. So we have so traditionally with a lot of rounds, let me filter this to Waialae. So traditionally, let's see how many strokes a Hideki has averaged here. Move the camera. So yeah, so you have Corey Connors, most notably with 12 or 20 rounds played here, averaged 1.8 strokes per round, which is 4th best, and notably the best with significant rounds. Chris Kirk, who just won, averaged 1.4 here. Russell Henley, 38 rounds, 1.24. Matt Kuchar, who I'll get to, 1.43. So, a lot of names here who have played a lot of rounds here, traditionally have played well here. So I think that's something to kind of put to note about kind of handicapping this course. I'll get to another player spotlight, and that will be Eric Cole. He is the Rookie of the Year. He finished T14 at the Century last week, gained 1.5 strokes from approach and 4 strokes putting. I said on Twitter last week he is an elite wedge player, so at a course where you don't need to be strong off the tee, that's kind of a weakness in Cole's game. Put him at a course where he can putt, hit his wedges. I'd like the Rookie of the Year to stay hot here. We'll see what his number is, but I think he'll be a fairly popular play. Okay. I'm going to give to kind of transition, I'm going to give a sleeper. And at the Sony Open, which I mentioned his name before, but give me Matt Kuchar as a sleeper. I think you'll see his name across golf Twitter. I think he'll be a very popular long shot because, as I said, he has one of the best course history resumes at Waialae. He's won here before and has posted 7 top 10s. Safe to say he knows how to get his way around this course, gaining 1.43 strokes per round. And he's played decently well in the fall swing he's finished tied for second, T7 and T19 in tournaments. So, I think I'm a big, more recent form guy than course history, as I think a lot of people are in the golf community who I follow, and I think him playing well in the fall swing is, and having the course history, I think will be a very popular play this week. A player to watch is Maverick McNeely. He had a terrible 2023 golf season. Could not hit the ball straight off the tee, gained strokes off the tee in probably almost every tournament. He had a shoulder injury that bothered him last year, which I think he got fixed. And he's teeing up for the first time. He has averaged 1.4 strokes per round at Sony Open in 8 rounds. So I think he's someone that I am watching who is very talented when he's healthy. And I don't know if I'll bet him, I don't think I'll even bet him in a matchup or something, but he's a player to watch as we watch, from practice round reports, and kind of see day by day his strokes gain and see if he can get back, because he's really a talented player, and he's a popular player to play at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, because he lived on the course, so he grew up playing it. So I think he's a player that I won't click the bet on, but he's someone that I'm planning to note to watch. So we went through some news, went through quick Sentry, did 2 player spotlights on Hideki, Eric Cole, sleeper in Matt Kuchar, player to watch in Maverick McNeely. And I'll give you one more player to watch who I'm not betting on. I did draft him in my fantasy golf team, and that is Will Zalatoris. I believe he's teeing up for the first time since the Hero, which he didn't finish that great. He has this new putter now. I think he went with the long putter, I believe. And he's someone that I am looking to watch just to see his swing, his putter. His putter didn't look great at the Hero, and I think he's also someone that he's just so talented, and I think the tour really will love him to get back to who he is traditionally, which is an elite ball striker, and just improve on his putting. So hopefully he can get back to kind of his form in these kind of smaller tournaments that are less pressured. But just to conclude this episode, thought Ethan, I guess a week or 2 ago, I joined a fantasy season-long golf league, it's always pretty fun. It's not as popular as I think it should be, fantasy golf. We have fantasy football, basketball, baseball, hockey, or the sports that kind of dominate the, season-long fantasy. Golf is more DFS, so daily fantasy, either in the whole, Thursday through Sunday, or just Thursday, just Friday. We've seen kind of the rise of the prize picks and underdog, which I love using underdog. That's my favorite one, to kind of take different bets and play. They just added a best ball league where it starts the Phoenix Open and ends at the British Open, so you can start drafting on Underdog. You can also do DFS too. And they also do like the pick'em format where you can bet over under on strokes of a player, so higher or lower than like 68.5, and then birdies too. So that was pretty cool this week. I think I hit one and then I missed one like the other. But I just wanted to conclude it just to run through my fantasy golf team that, I'll track the performance during, every week's episode. But I went with Cantlay round 1, and then I went with Hatton round 2. So I was the 6th pick. So I Cantlay was the best available. And then I went with Will Zalatoris as round 3. But the people on the board with Zalatoris, I just was like, I kind of wanted to go big or go home. So I took that, hopefully Zalatoris can stay healthy. It is a risk, which could be the reason my team isn't that good. But then I went Wyndham Clark, who I didn't really like. He was just the best player available, and sometimes I just like going the best player available. Then I think I went Vincent Norman, who's a young Swede that I think is rooming with Ludwig Oberg in Tallahassee. I could be wrong, but I think that's what they said on the broadcast. And I took Bo Hostler, who I think is due for a kind of a big year on these smaller tournaments. And then my bench, I have in no order Ben Griffin, Pure Quest, who normally was hot for a couple tournaments last year. Aaron Rye, Bobby Mack, Ryder Cup legend. Alejandro Tosti from Argentina, and then I drafted Brooks Koepka in like the 8th or 9th round, I believe. I really didn't know who to pick. I saw that Rahm got picked like right before this pick, and I was like, I'll just stash Koepka. This is a pick that you're trying to go big at these majors, And I think live guys in fantasy, it's just so hard. Like, where do you pick them? There's really not an industry standard yet on where do you pick these live guys. So Koepka, I think I just was like, don't know who to pick. Let me just pick Brooks Koepka. I'll have him for the 4 majors. Hopefully he can win one and win me a week, because it is a week by week matchup. So that kind of rounds up my team. I'm also doing a one and done pool again with 2 of my brothers in the Rec Run Good pool. We finished 52nd last year. To recap, we hit Homa at the Farmers, Rom at the Genesis, Sky at the Players, which was the big one, and then Hovland at BMW to end the year. So Hovland win the BMW, which is always the last leg, even though the Tour Championship is the last leg of the playoffs. So we hit those 4. So that's 2 signature events, the Players, which is a signature event, but that's by far the biggest purse. And home win the Farmers was an extra 1.5 or so million to add on to that. We also had a Rory at the API, which he lost to Kitayama, which no one had Kitayama, so Rory was the best play, essentially, I guess, however you want to frame it. We had some bad beats, too. Like, we had Fleetwood at the British Open, which he was, I believe he was a round 1 leader. Or he was up there, and after round 2, potentially. Or I think Harman was round 2 later. But Fleetwood kind of hurt. We faded Koepka at the PGA, which he ended up winning. We took Xander, but we were in like the top 50, and Koepka was so heavily owned, probably like 30% owned, and we kind of went to be contrarian, and just we bet against Koepka. I was like, he can't win. He can't, after that Masters choke, like he's not gonna be able to play well. Kind of cost us a lot of spots, but I do like the one and done for fun. So, the prize is cool, but, it's just so hard to compete in these things and hit on different outrights. We hit 4 outrights. which is amazing. So, what can you expect from? I'll conclude what you can expect from Bunker to Bunker. 'Cause I think my goal with this, as we conclude in the last minute or two, is to stay consistent. This is a lot of fun to do this, and I think that putting out this Monday at noon every Monday will help with consistency. Going over the news, notes from tournaments, previews, spotlights, sleepers is kind of what I like to talk about. At some point, I kind of want to figure out kind of like a niche, but try to figure out ways to be different. And you'll also expect, we'll do our Fairway Finder Series 2 when Ethan gets back. I'll give updates on my fantasy league. I'll give updates on One and Done. So stay tuned for that with the Bunker to Bunker brand. For me personally, on Twitter or X, you can follow me on Josh_Siegel8. Also trying to stay consistent. So every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning, I'll post threads. So Monday, I am going to be doing a stock report. So 3 players whose stock is up, 3 players whose stock are down. Tuesday will be sleepers, so I usually give 3 of my favorite sleepers every tournament. And then Wednesday thread, I'm not sure. I gotta figure that. I have a lot of different ideas to do for the third. Wednesday, I usually post my betting card. But I want to post a thread. Maybe like smash starts in just general, like who you should get in your lineup in DFS or fantasy. So I think that's going to be it. I think it's going to be stock report, sleepers, fantasy golf smash starts, mixed in with some stats throughout the day, and stuff. So expect those 3 threads Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning at 9. And I think I want to start doing like a nerd nugget, just like maybe like after every round, post like a quick stat on a player or 2, and potentially post some round by round bets. Maybe Friday I like Spieth to beat Fitzpatrick -120. But I kind of want to stay more not towards just like giving out picks for betting, and more just like talking about players, stats, the nerd in me. So I think that kind of concludes everything with the podcast. Kind of wanted to also lay out kind of the future of this, and hopefully the goal is to stay consistent, post at the same time, give you guys the same content. And yeah, hopefully next week we have Ethan back on the pod, and good luck at the Sony Open.